What would you reckon you would do in that situation, Andrea? Apart from scream your head off, I guess. I guess I would.
I think this is a great reason to always have a small chainsaw handy. So in case your car tries to robo-kidnap you, you just start slicing through the wires under the steering wheel until the darn thing turns off.
Yeah, I can't think of a single reason why we don't have handy chainsaws in out of control cars. I mean, it's a mystery. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 20th edition of A Very Special Relationship. My name is Matt Johnson. I have a YouTube channel called The Interesting Times, which looks at all the UK goings on. And my co-star, the US A-star, if you like, for political humour. I mean, these intros are just getting more cheesy, aren't they? It is Andrea Bridges-Smith, who has a show called the Phoenix News Network. How are we doing, Andrea?
Well, I am nice and well rested after having last week off, but Matt, I'm a little upset. We took a week off. We turned our backs for a few days, and a war broke out, and the whole U.S. government stopped functioning. I mean, we can't take our eyes off things for a minute.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, doesn't it? I mean, the world news, to be fair, is currently focused on the carnage happening in Israel right now. I mean, the horror of those attacks is just heartbreaking, and hopefully a ceasefire can happen soon. I'll be interested to know, though, what's the reporting like in the US, Andrea? It's obviously getting a lot of coverage here, and all the main political parties have pretty well sided with Israel, I suppose.
Yeah, over here it's pretty much the same, although there is certainly support for the Palestinian people who are a separate entity from Hamas. My heart goes out to all of the innocent people who are out there, just trying to live their lives and provide for their families, who are now finding themselves in the middle of this awful situation.
Agreed. All right. So we can't really, because this is supposed to be a light-hearted political podcast, maybe we should leave it there and cover something else. I noticed, Andrea, that Kevin McCarthy has gone. Yes. And all that fuss to get him elected, it took longer to give him the job than for him to keep it. So what's the timescale to elect a new speaker, and what's the latest happenings to reach that goal?
Well, Matt, if I had to describe the race for a new Speaker of the House, the only word that seems to do it justice is bonkers. So we've got four main candidates that have been in the race. So first up, we've had Representative Jim Jordan, who is a huge Trump fan and a crazy person whose big claim to fame is looking the other way while his wrestling team was sexually abused. This is the guy that Trump endorsed, which is an excellent reason to not vote for him. But some were saying that he's the only one crazy enough to be able to speak crazy to the Freedom Caucus, who is extra crazy.
That's a lot of crazy. Yeah.
It is 10 pounds of crazy in a 5-pound bag. And then, of course, if we're talking UK, we convert that to kilos or kilograms, whichever you like. Then we have Steve Scalise, who is also a huge Trump supporter, but slightly more sane and has the ability to actually work with people, which everyone thought was going to be a huge liability for him in this race. So Steve Scalise, the only problem with him is he's recovering from blood cancer. So if you are keeping track of how the GOP feels about leaders, being 80 years old, unforgivable, being slightly younger than that, totally fine, and having blood cancer, not a problem at all.
Okay, well, to be fair, without sounding grim, if your last speaker is anything to go by, then longevity really isn't so much of an issue, I guess.
Yes, I think Kevin McCarthy lasted for about 5.5 Liz Trusses. I think the only shorter unit of measurement is Scaramucci's in this country.
Is that imperial or imperial?
Yes. Everything is imperial. So I'm not quite sure what that translates to in produce, but we can get the metric conversion chart out for that. But so you have Jim Jordan, you have Steve Scalise, and then there's this faction that is angry that Kevin McCarthy got kicked out, and they want to bring him back, which I think we can all agree would be objectively hilarious. I mean, it took 15 rounds of voting to get him in there, took one snap vote to boot him, and who knows how long it would take to get him back in this time. It would be a lot funnier if a military aid package to Israel wasn't riding on the whole thing.
Well, to be fair, the one thing that the whole Middle East needs right now is more guns.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like the idea that Americans are kind of going, okay, how can we help? Have you guys got enough weapons over there? Got enough guns? And we got enough, is there enough shooting going on? That's what we want to know. Is there enough? Can we do more shooting?
Right. And Matt, a lot of people knock us for that, but here is why that's a good system. It is extremely efficient. Imagine having a problem and instead of saying, option A, option B, option C, option D, you're just like, guns? ?
Yeah. You go for option G. What's option G? G is for guns.
Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. It's incredibly efficient, really streamlines the process. And, that's what America is all about, as you can see from our current governmental kerfuffle. Now, there is one other candidate, and this is the person that I was rooting for, and you may be surprised by this. I was really hoping that it was going to be Donald Trump.
I am surprised by that.
And here's the reason. So you do not have to be a member of the House to be Speaker of the House, which is fucking ridiculous. So he could technically be elected as Speaker of the House. And I think that would be an excellent reminder going into the election year of how chaotic he is and how crazy things get when he's involved. He's also going to be in courtrooms pretty much every single day for the foreseeable future, meaning that the House probably wouldn't get very much done. And with a Republican majority, that might be a good thing. And finally, I would not wish the headaches that McCarthy had as Speaker of the House on anyone unless I really, really hated them. So Donald Trump it is. Now, unfortunately, it looks like Scalise ended up getting the nomination, but so far he doesn't have the votes to make it official, and there is a lot of fighting happening behind closed doors, so we'll see if they can actually get him in there without some kind of riot breaking out.
Well, to be fair, that's where you really need the guns, right there.
Yeah, and luckily that is the group of people that has them. They are strapped to the gills, one behind the back, one on the hip, one on the ankle. They're ready to go for any such kerfuffles that might break out. Matt, I'm curious, are things as chaotic over there as they are over here? Because again, our government just basically has ceased to function.
Yeah. You're getting it all at the moment. I'm rather delighted to say at the moment that, yes, we're hectic, but we're nowhere near that level of chaos.
Okay.
If you'll remember, Andrew, it was a Conservative Party conference in Manchester last week. This time it's the Labour Party, the opposition, who are having their shindig.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the term shindig, Andrea? Apparently it means a loud, raucous party.
Yes, we use that phrase a lot over here.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. I'm glad to see it's got a bit more general use over there. Well, it might not necessarily be a loud, raucous party. The contrast between the empty seats last week for the Tories and the hustle and bustle at this week's event could not be more stark. It's genuinely looking like Labour is ready for an election and ready for power. Though you have to be careful. When the Tories are on course for losing the next election, who knows what they might do? Kind of like an animal being cornered. I mean, you can pick whatever animal you like, be it a skunk, snake, rat.
So are you saying that you expect the Tories to spray their stink all over the electorate then?
To be honest, they're pretty much doing it already. Although they haven't quite realised that this is the Brits we're talking about. If someone farts in a train carriage, we just wrinkle our nose, give a sneering look around the carriage, then carry on looking out the window or indeed add our phones. Delete as applicable, depending on age. So Keir Starmer is likely the next Prime Minister for the country. Okay, let me change that slightly, bearing in mind my predictions about Sunak. Keir Starmer is likely the next Labour Prime Minister country.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Now, I've heard the name, but I don't really know very much about him. So what is his deal?
Well, interesting fact number one, and probably the only one that gets repeated quite a lot, is Keir Starmer is boring. He
Oh,
is. You only have to listen to him to realize that. Interesting point number two, I don't think he cares. And I'll be honest with you, neither do I. And indeed, when it comes to the polls, neither do the British people. Labour have been consistently ahead between 15 and 20% in the polls in the last 6 months. So it shows that they're going to be on course for a landslide. We've had chaos. We've seen what the chaos looks like. No more chaos, you know?
yeah, boredom sounds nice for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Now, I heard that one interesting thing did happen, though, to this very boring man, which is that he got glitter bombed during a speech. So at least now he will be sparkly and fabulous, which can only help his chances, I assume.
Well, even there, see, he still looked sort of whatever. He just took off his jacket, brushed it off, and carried on with his speech. Simple. That's what you want.
It is. It is. Now, important question here. Could he take Jacob Rees-Mogg in a fight?
See, I'm not sure. I mean, Jacob Rees-Mogg looks like he has elasticated limbs, right? They look like they might boa constrictor you while he stares coldly into your eyes as you gasp your last breath.
That was vivid.
Anyway, with that analogy to end all analogy, it's kind of comforting to know we are only about 10 months away from some form of political sanity. Although I also appreciate that will also likely signal the death toll for my channel. Hey, I could also tackle politics in other parts of the world. How's El Salvador doing these days?
Well, plenty of material to work with there, I think. But Matt, if you need more crazy to report on, I have a huge supply of it over here. We've got plenty. I believe you are familiar with a man named George Santos, yes?
Oh, yes, the Republican that keeps on giving to satirists like us.
Yes, Santa puts him into our stocking multiple times a year, not just at Christmas time. So for anyone out there who is not familiar, George Santos is a Republican who is a pathological liar and a criminal. And this week he got charged with some more crimes than the crimes he already got charged with, which are mostly fraud, since he's got a lot of experience in that area. And now his own party is trying to kick him out of office. Matt, you could have an entire podcast just focused on George Santos. There's plenty of material. That guy is always making some kind of news for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, rock bottom is when the GOP considers you to be too dishonest, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
There's a news clip of him being pursued by reporters as he goes to his office asking him all these questions. And it does put me in mind of our very own Grant Shapps, who is the Defence Secretary and man responsible for the UK security. He's taken on different personas as well, but slightly different reasons. Basically, he's faked names in order to give himself reviews and things like that. It's slightly different. Your guy actually took these people's identity, didn't he?
He did, and it sounds like the two of them would be great friends who have a lot in common, and I'm very happy that there's an ocean separating them. Let's make sure we keep it that way, okay? There's no telling what might happen if those two teamed up. That would be bad.
Yeah. One bad person, bad. Two bad people, very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad. So this is crazy. I don't know if you've seen this story, Andrea, but you know that we are heading towards driverless cars. Well, it seems like a chap in Glasgow has already had this happen to him. His electric vehicle refused to stop and he was stuck doing 30 miles per hour, which must have been pretty terrifying, right?
Right.
The chap's name is Brian Morrison. He tried calling his wife so she could alert other drivers ahead of him. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume he wasn't thinking straight because I'm not entirely sure how that would work.
Right.
You know, it's just like phone up. Can you phone the car phone with the people in front of me? That'd be great. Phone them on their mobiles. How am I supposed to do that? Anyway, she called the police, who came along and boxed him in and basically used a van, to cushion the blow for him to gently crash into. Right. Now, it's worth mentioning that Mr. Morrison's vehicle was not driverless, or at least it wasn't supposed to be. But I put me in mind of a Speed sequel, although the vehicle was doing 30 miles per hour, so not a very quick one. How fast was the Speed one doing? What was that?
I want to say it was like 50 or 60 miles per hour.
50,
So,
60, yeah, and it couldn't go below that, could it? Yeah.
right.
So anyway, what would you reckon you would do in that situation, Andrea? Apart from scream your head off, I guess. I guess I would.
Yeah, that would be my first stop. But secondly, I think this is a great reason to always have a small chainsaw handy. So in case your car tries to robo-kidnap you, you just start slicing through the wires under the steering wheel until the darn thing turns off. A lot of problems could be solved by having a small chainsaw in hand, and people do not realize that.
Yeah, I can't think of a single reason why we don't have handy chainsaws in out of control cars. I mean, it's a mystery. You've got the guns already, haven't you? You've got the guns.
Well,
You just, shoot the car.
That would also work. You just shoot at the car. Again, you're in a tight space. There's bullets flying. Nothing bad's going to happen to you there. It's textbook. Yeah.
See, that's where Brian went wrong. He didn't have a
Yes.
gun. That's where we all went wrong. None of us have got guns in our car.
I know. Do you guys need some? We have plenty. We can send you some.
That'd be great. Just slop it. Put it in the post. It's fine. Dressed
Sure.
to 10 Downing Street. Loads of firearms. Dressed to 10 Downing Street. It'll be fine. Get to everybody. Part of government. That's the way it can branch out and get handed out to everybody.
Yeah. There we go.
So, Andrea, before we go, I want to have a quick chat about populism, which I know has been a bit of a scourge that has affected both our countries in recent years. And I want to talk in particular about Penny Mordaunt.
Okay.
Now, for those who don't know, Penny Mordaunt is the leader of the House of Commons and also an MP as well. But she's the woman, rather famously, that carried the sword at
yes, sword
Charles's
lady.
coronation. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And she was also the warm-up person, essentially, for Rishi Sunak at last week's Conservative Party conference. So she came out and did this speech. And basically, she said, we must stand up and fight. Because when you stand up and fight, the person next to you stands up and fights. And when they stand up and fight, we all stand up and fight. And then we as a country stand up and she basically said must stand up and fight about 8 times.
Yeah.
She genuinely finished a speech like this. Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. And then she did this. That was it. And it's strange because we're all sitting there going, did everybody else see that? What's that? What's going on? And of course, because it's Conservative Party conference, they have to applaud. But it's just like, apart from, I think she mentioned freedom, but apart from that, she never made it clear why people were standing up and why they were fighting. The question is, though, do you reckon, I made a joke on my last show, but do you reckon she would make a good running mate for Donald Trump? And if so, how would that speech have gone down at a Trump rally?
Oh, yes. Trump would have been all over that speech because it's easy to remember. You hardly even need a teleprompter for that one. So there's that. But I feel like the populism over here, it's almost more about like whipping people up into a frenzy. And then once you've done it, it's like, okay, now we need to point them at something. Trans people, stand up and fight trans people, and immigrants. Yes, immigrants. Those are bad too. We gotta fight those guys. So it's really rage looking for a problem to be mad at is kind of the way it works over here. And in fact, Donald Trump gave a speech earlier this week. And he was saying, when he was president, he had like the Muslim travel ban, and he was all about banning people from other countries from coming here. He made a speech saying, not only in his second term would he do the Muslim travel ban, but he would also ban all of the Marxists and communists and socialists from coming to the country. So basically, anyone that doesn't think exactly like a conservative just is not allowed to come in. And
sorry, how does that work? Do you have to show off some Armani sort of suit or something when you come through? It's just like anybody with a little red book, out you go. Yeah. Funny enough, we've got the same thing, obviously, with trans and migrants as well over here. They were hitting all the marks at the Conservative Party conference. But funny enough, one of the things that they talked about was So a few people sort of said, well, basically, some migrants, refugees, in order to claim asylum here, are saying they're gay when they're not, sort of thing. And you sit there and think, even if you think that's true, what do you think the solution is? You take them to a Cher concert and they're all sitting there going, I hate this, I'm going to leave. And I'm like, right, that's it.
I mean,
none of your wardrobe is loud. So how can we believe you?
What I don't get about the whole gay and trans thing is it's like, Matt, you are a dude. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I am a lady.
Yep.
End of story. And I've been around trans people before, and they've never, ever made me change my gender. And I've been around gay people before, and it has not made me gay. And so, what do we think is going to happen if some gay people come through or some trans people come through? They don't have a magic button where, like, if they tap you on the forehead, it's not like a zombie thing, where they if they bite you, then you become one. That's not how it works.
Yes. I mean, the Conservatives, obviously on both sides of the Atlantic, the literal ones over here and the sort of practicing ones over there, are very much, it's very much punching down at the people that will, in all honesty, will not know, they know that they will not vote for Conservative or Republican.
Do you think Penny Mordaunt, you think at this point that knives out for Rishi Sunak? Is that right?
Yeah, I think knives are being sharpened. We're just approaching the year anniversary, which they can basically put in letters to what's called the 1922 committee. If it gets a certain amount of letters, they call a leadership election. And I think those letters, apparently some letters have already gone in. I think more letters will go in. And in fact, it'll virtually be unstoppable. My own personal opinion, I could well be wrong about this, is I think there's going to be a ton of letters. If he loses what are 2 safe seats, if he wins either one, he might be able to hold on. Okay. I think he actually won one of the by-elections, and he had about 5 by-elections in the last year or so, and he won one of them. And everybody's like, okay, we'll give you a bit more space here. So I think he'll stay as Prime Minister if he wins either of those by-elections. If he loses both, again with big thumping majorities, I think he's toast. Funny enough, we've already had one by-election. I didn't mention that one because it was in Scotland. The Tories were never likely to win it. It was held by the SNP and it was won by the Labour Party. But even there, the Tories did so bad, they actually, you have to give a deposit when you apply for a certain seat. And that's to stop every man and his dog just sort of going on and going, I'm going to go for it, So it's something like £10,000, but you have to get a certain amount of the vote. They didn't even manage that. And I can't remember the last time that happened to Conservative Party or any major party. So, yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for him.
And so you think next up is Penny Mordaunt, the sword lady?
I do. If only for, there's not really that much more in the way of choice, if you like. But gotcha. I do wonder as well if the whole stand up and fight speech hasn't really trashed her chances, because there must have been people sitting there kind of thinking she's now going to be known as a stand up and fight woman, is that a new Prime Minister, Penny Mordaunt, and then she's going to go to the G7 and they're all going to go, who's this Penny Mordaunt, stand up and fight? Oh yeah, her, it's just going to be odd. But yes, I can see her being next Prime Minister.
That's better than the apples lady, Liz Truss nattering on about apples forever. So, you got that going for you. But, I guess my advice to Penny Mordaunt would be, if you want to be Prime Minister, Penny, going to have to stand up and fight.
Oh, of course. Why didn't she think of that?
All right, well, everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. For more of Matt, because who can get enough, head on over to The Interesting Times, and I will have a new episode of our weekly Phoenix News Report right here tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching, and we will see you same time next week.